All right.
So thank you so much, Kylie, for joining me. I have Kylie from Kundalini Yoga Geelong and Fearless Way. So welcome, Kylie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Narelle.
Oh, no, thank you for joining me. It's so lovely to be able to share some of the work that you do. So I'd love you to share, to start with, what you do in your free time, something you enjoy doing on the weekends or with your kids or your family.
Wow. Well, I have a very high need for variety. So I like to do many things, and I would define myself as a bit of an explorer. So I love going on little adventures, which has been a little bit tricky during COVID. But my family and I have made sure that we do sort of mix it up a little bit. So I love going on walks, love going into nature. So we've kind of been finding little different places to go. I love listening to podcasts and reading books, and I love travel. I worked in the travel industry for 24 years, so there are a couple of things that I love to do. But I think, I don't know if you sent me something, or we were talking about this the other day, about something about yourself that people won't know. And I don't know, I feel like I need to confess today. So I'm going to share something that only my family know. Only my family know. So I love watching surfing. So when I was younger, I used to do I'll say a little bit of surfing, not a lot of surfing. But I've got this thing that I could go to the beach and just sit there and watch people surf. And when I'm feeling a little bit stressed, I actually get on YouTube and watch surfing videos. So my boys and my husband know that about me, but all my friends and my family would be quite surprised by that. And I think I love it because it's kind of like a bit of a metaphor for life. You know, like you can't control the surf, you can't control the ocean. You've got to work with it and navigate your way around it. I don't know, there's just something about watching people navigate their way around the ocean I really like. So it's kind of my secret guilty pleasure.
Oh, what a beautiful guilty pleasure, though. Like, I love that. It's a real mindful activity, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. Watching nature and watching that ebb and flow. So what about podcasts then? What's sort of some of your favorites? Are you like a business, or is it wellness? What sort of area do you like the most?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, because I like variety, I do mix it up. I love a lot of the Mamma Mia podcasts.
Yep.
Particularly some around women. I also listen to quite a few of Oprah's Super Soul. I love her podcast. What else have I been listening to lately?
Have you listened to any of Brené Brown's new podcasts?
I love Brené Brown. So I have a girl crush on Brené Brown. Actually, I got to see Brené Brown
last year.
Yeah, in Sydney. And again, I'm sharing so many things with you. But she was on stage and it went silent, and I had this moment where I yelled out, "Brené, I love you." And all my friends that were with me just looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I love you too." So Brené and I have shared I love you moment. So yes, I love Brené, and I do listen to a lot of her podcasts.
I love it. Yeah, I'm very I probably would have done the same thing. So what about a morning routine? Do you, like, I know you're a mum and busy mum, do you have a morning routine? Do you have something you like to do for yourself?
I do. Well, I'm sharing so many things. I have this thing, I probably had it in place for about, I would say probably for about 10 years, where I have had a little bit of a morning ritual. So I used to do a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, and I remember him talking, you need to have this hour of power and have this ritual. So I have this thing where when I first get up, I express gratitude. So I used to just sit in bed and think about it, but this year I committed to writing it down. So I get out of bed, turn on the kettle, and while the kettle's boiling, waiting to boil, I actually write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. So I start with gratitude. Then I actually have a cold shower. So I've just embraced cold showers this year. Again, I started in January. So I have a cold shower. Then after my cold shower, I go and do some yoga and meditations, which I call my sadhana. So it's my own personal morning practice. And then the other company that I have, the Fearless Way, I send out inspirational quotes every morning. So I go and send out my quotes. It's this little routine that I've been in. And yes, I have to get up very early.
I was going to say, what time do you get up to do this?
Anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30,
Okay.
depending on what's going on for the day.
Yep.
How long my yoga, like what I'm planning to do with my yoga, and sometimes even after that, I'll squeeze in a quick walk or something like that. But it just depends on what's going on. But I was sharing this with someone the other day. I really, really love my morning routine because it sets me up for who I want to be and how I want my day to be. Like, one of my, and it's me honoring my values before I start the day. So, gratitude's really important to me. So I've started with gratitude, running a company like the Fearless Way. You've got to be building that courage muscle. So I can tell you, I don't like cold showers. People go, why do you really like them? I don't. Like, it's like I'm getting out of my comforts, but I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I tell myself, if I can do this, I can do anything for the day. So that's kind of the mental setup. And the yoga and the meditation, as you would know, just helps me be mindful so that I can go through the rest of the day being mindful. So I have to say, by 7:30, when the rest of my house is waking, I am annoying because I'm ready to go.
Yeah. What about then during COVID? Like when the kids were at home and stuff, how did you find that? Did it affect your routine?
Not so much. And look, I think I'm really lucky because my boys, I've got twin boys, as you know, because you teach them. My boys are 12, so they're probably at that stage where they're quite self-sufficient. So during COVID, they were all still in bed. Actually, I probably got an extra hour. And in actual fact, I got to get up a little bit later. But I do remember, because I've been sort of practicing this morning routine for a while. I remember when my boys were really young, particularly in that first couple of years, it was really, really tricky. And I certainly couldn't fit in all the things that I would do, like, I now do, but I always think something's better than nothing. So I just used to do smaller snippets of things. So instead of doing an hour yoga practice, I would do, 15 minutes of movement and 5 minutes of meditation, but it was still something. I didn't have the energy to write down the gratitudes. I just said them as I was opening my eyes after, broken sleep all night. So
and definitely having twins as like babies, I'm sure that was hectic as well.
Yeah, it was.
So what about your business? So tell us about your yoga. How did you get into yoga?
Yeah, well, I got into yoga and meditation probably about 15 years ago, and the reason that I did is I was working in a really busy, stressful corporate job, and I really just burnt myself out, to be brutally honest. And I started to get a little bit of anxiety and panic attacks, and it was almost like I felt like, what has happened to me? And one of my friends put me on to yoga and meditation, and I started it and I was like, this is so good. It's helping me get into balance. It certainly helped, particularly the mindfulness stuff really helped with my mind and my anxiety. And so I was doing that for quite a while. And then about 3 years ago, one of my girlfriends said to me, I think you're going to love this new yoga I've got into. It's called Kundalini Yoga. And she goes, it's a little bit different to perhaps what you practiced before, but, I think you should give it a go. So the first class that I went to, I must admit, I was like, this is a bit different to other yoga that I've done. It's, because there's a little bit of mantra involved in Kundalini Yoga and a lot of breath work. And I felt a bit weird, but I felt so good after it that I decided to go back for a second class. And the second class I went to, I absolutely fell in love with it. And it's interesting because I think before I loved the meditation and the yoga that I was doing, but I felt like there was something else for me. So I imagine it's the same for you with your Yin and Nidra. You find something and you go, this really works for me. So that's how I sort of got into the Kundalini Yoga. And I do this thing every year where I set myself a fearless challenge because, the fearless way, you've got to do these things. And I decided a couple of years ago, last year, at the start of last year, my challenge would be to not only do more of the yoga, but go to the teacher training and learn how to teach the yoga. And I have to say, I couldn't touch my toes. I was very inflexible, and it was one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced. But I'm glad I did it. And after I did it, I just, because I love it, it's just, I need to bring it to Geelong. I need to, share the technology with other people. So that's how it came about, sort of a little bit by default, actually.
Yeah. I love it. And I mean, I've been part of your classes. So even the chanting, for me, it would be like, oh, the teacher training. I'd like all of it, but the chanting as well. So that, it may have been a bit different having to learn that as well.
It is. And it's, it really confronts your ego, and I actually said to one of my friends, there's not much that I'm can embarrass me anymore, because when you start off chanting and you've got your cousins and some of your friends checking out your yoga class, it's pretty weird, but it's good, and it works. Like the mantra actually really stimulates your brain, and it releases chemicals in the brain, and it's actually quite a calming thing. It just feels a bit weird and a bit awkward, I think, anyway. Not to me now.
And that it's so that's, I think, what going to your classes, like I've been doing yoga over 20 years, and I went to India and I loved all the styles over there and experiencing, and loved the mantras and the chanting, and coming back and still continuing that practice. But it was only 3 years ago that I started to go, okay, I don't need any more of this yang style of yoga. I need the relaxation. I already do enough running around exercise. And that's when I got into the Nidra and Yin. But I miss the chanting and the singing and everything else that comes with the yoga practice. That real Indian inspired part of it, really. I feel connected back to that when I do it. So I really enjoyed doing it. So maybe tell us then about a little bit more about Kundalini Yoga and the benefits of it.
Yeah, sure. So, Kundalini, as you were saying that, I was like, you're so right, because that the chanting does sort of bring up that fire energy and really boost things, which is really good. One of the things I love about Kundalini Yoga is it is pretty comprehensive. So as well as doing the mantra, which we don't, for people listening to this, they might think we chat the whole time. We don't. There's only a little bit of mantra at the start and at the end, and maybe every now and again a meditation has it. But Kundalini Yoga has a combination of movements, meditation, mantra, and a lot of breath work. So it's quite comprehensive, which I really like about the Kundalini Yoga. And it's really good for, as all yoga is, it's really good for just bringing you into balance. It moves a lot of energy. So there's a lot of energy work, and Kundalini Yoga is quite, like, it's a technology, so it's quite scientific. So all the sets that I do, I don't make up. Like, I might add some of the music and maybe some of the warm-up exercises, but they're all set exercises to work on specific things, and they're done in a way that will, if it's creating energy, then you'll have relaxation that helps bring it down. So it's always bringing you into balance. So and the idea with Kundalini Yoga is that the Kundalini, which is, if you actually look up what does Kundalini mean, it says coiled snake, and what it means is it's the energy that sits at the base of the spine, and when you stimulate that energy, it releases. So it comes up through all the energy centers, and the practice itself helps balance out those, activate those energy centers, but helps balance them out. So it's great for stress reduction. It's great for, anxiety. It's great for strengthening. One of the things that I've found as someone that suffered a fair bit of anxiety is it's actually helped reboot my nervous system, which I know a lot of yoga does. But for me particularly, I just feel like I've almost rewired my mind and my body. So it's really good for that. And it's really good for beginners, because there are not too many poses like your yoga that you have to, stretch yourself, but you don't extend yourself. We're not doing headstands and,
No.
I can do that. My hamstrings are still tight, but not as bad as they were. But it's certainly, I love your yoga and my yoga in terms of what we do, because it still stretches you, but not to the point that you're physically stretched, but you feel like something's happened and you moved something and you've done something. But it's just, it's not too full on.
Yeah, and that's what I love. I've loved doing yours, say, in the morning, and then the Yin and the Nidra in the nighttime, and going into that. So I find that really useful. I really love the breathing. The breathing for me has been really relaxing to start the day, and really just center, your focus for the day. Whereas I find if I do Yin in the morning, it's too relaxing for me. It's not. Whereas I think the breathing within the Kundalini Yoga really fires me up, but not enough that, I've still got enough energy to get through the day and not exceeded myself. So what about now, hang on, sorry, I've got one thing I just have to do. The dog is at the door, scratching. You may not hear it because of the headphones, but I know she's gone up a level, so I'll be back in just a sec. And we did say we like that sort of thing. Keeping it real. You probably can't hear it, but I was like, oh, maybe you can, because she's really up the ante to get out of the comes down to this room. So share with us then about some health tips that maybe it's not. I mean, you've shared a little bit about your morning routine, but do you have any health tips around that you recommend for people?
Well, yes, I do. I mean, I have a couple of things, but I think the big one you just mentioned before is the breath work. So for me, one of the most important things to do is to really get to know your breath and understand your breathing, because we all know that the last thing that happens to us is, once we take our last breath, that's it. So it's such, in yoga we call it the life force, and it really helps us connect and balance and be our best selves. And a lot of us don't breathe properly. So I think one of the greatest things you can do is just really get to understand your breath, learn to breathe properly, and then you can learn different breathing techniques for certain things. And that's one of the things I loved about Kundalini Yoga, because there's different breath. There's breath to help fire you up, there's breath to calm you down, there's breath to help you center. So breath work is just one of the best things that you could do. And if you did, and it's also a form of mindfulness, right? Because you're concentrating on the breath, you're tuning into yourself. So it's such an amazing thing to do.
Yeah, I love like alternate nostril breathing. Is like one of my favorites to just center myself, because it takes so much concentration to do it. So then you're like, oh yeah, that feels so much better now from doing it. So I did share this the last week actually in my group, and it's funny, I got so many messages saying, wow, that's so powerful. And even actually in my class last week doing it, and it was the same. It's like, well, that's a really good one, I didn't know it. And it is a real traditional sort of yoga practice. I found it's something that I remember doing 20 years ago. One of the first things they teach you, isn't it, that alternate nostril breathing. Any other health tips?
I think the cold showers.
So tell us about that, how that came about. Like, did you go and see anyone in particular last year maybe?
No, I didn't. I didn't go and see Wim Hof.
That's what I was thinking.
No, I didn't do any of that. Actually, it's in the Kundalini Yoga training. They were talking about, leading a yogic lifestyle and getting yourself in the, in the right state to be able to hold space and run classes. And so Kundalini Yoga, they've been promoting cold showers for a really, really long time. So most Kundalini yogis do the cold shower thing, and it does a couple of things. It stimulates the nervous system, and it's really great for the blood. It balances out the blood, and again, I think so that physically it helps from that space, and then mentally, it is such, because who really wants to have a cold shower?
No, not at all.
Other than Wim Hof, who wants to have a cold shower? No one does. But just you know, actually for me mentally doing that as well, it just helps me get comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is something I sprout all the time with the Fearless Way. Is, you know, it's important to get out of your comfort zone so that you can grow and you can keep fulfilling your potential. And so a little thing like that just helps you get uncomfortable being uncomfortable, but know that you get through. And you know what, you feel really revived, and you know, you feel good. You actually do feel good for the day. I don't do it when I wash my hair though. I've got pretty thick hair, and yeah, and you have quick showers, so it's really good for the environment.
You save water, I bet. So so you're not staying in there for a long period of time and getting too cold that you're getting out and you're like, oh, I'm freezing. Because I find,
the idea, well, what we were taught is, you know, I certainly ease into it. So I'm like, okay. And I do gratitudes with her. I go, I'm grateful for my hands. I'm grateful for my arms. Oh my God, this is gold. And I sort of ease into it. But once I'm under, the key is to stay under for at least 1 minute to 2 minutes. Just to, and then some people stay longer, but I have done my 1 to 2 minutes. I'm out here. I'd say in summer I'm pretty good at the 2 minutes. In winter, 1 minute, because the water pipes are pretty cold at this time.
First thing in the morning. So what about at night time? Do you have a warm shower at all then?
Yeah, sometimes I do. I like to have baths if I can.
Okay.
So I have a warm bath, and I have been known to have a warm bath and then do one of your beautiful practices before going to bed. So it's nice. I do like to just have that space and that time before I go to bed. I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely, isn't it? It's that time to switch off. So maybe share with us then how people can find you and what they can like your services that you offer, because I know there's two sort of different services, but share both of them.
Oh, thank you. Well, yes, I really do like variety. No, I can't have one business. I'll just have two. So with Kundalini Yoga, the best way to find me is either on Instagram or Facebook, and it's at Kundalini Yoga Geelong. So I haven't actually created a website for the yoga, because I used to be on a website with the centre I used to work at. So I haven't really got to that stage, but I find that most people connect and can find me through that. So that's how you can find me with Kundalini Yoga. And for the Fearless Way, I do have a website, which is thefearlessway.com.au. And just, I suppose, to explain what the Fearless Way is about. Yeah, because I've mentioned it a few times, but I haven't really explained it. So one of my mission in life is to help people break down barriers so that they can fulfill their potential. And one of the big things that came up for me, years of coaching people and leading people, and even my own life experiences, was what was the biggest barrier that gets in the way. And for me, I found it was fear. So again, a little bit like the yoga, I was like, okay, well, if this is a challenge, I really want to see if I can find a way around this. So I started exploring some things, and then all of a sudden I started, I might just start up my own company and start doing some coaching with individuals and leaders and organisations. So I've spent over 20 years in business and at senior executive levels of leadership. So what I wanted to do was really help bring less fear, remove some of those barriers, and bring in a lot more consciousness and courage into workplaces and for leaders and for parents and you know, for whoever wants to do it. So that's the Fearless Way. And I've also got a Facebook page and Insta page for that, which is at the Fearless Way. So every morning I send out a little inspirational quote to help people get in the mindset of being courageous and fearless.
Oh, beautiful. Fantastic. So what about with your, like you mentioned the company or the places that you do the work, what sort of work do you actually do with them? Is it coaching or is it workshops?
Good question. A bit of both, actually. Yep. So I do quite a few speaking events. So I do a lot of keynotes where I talk about the fearless way, and I've got some things that I share. I do quite a few workshops with leaders and women, and then teams that are wanting to be, because I'm really passionate about gender equality and doing things with women. And I know it's probably quite topical at the moment, but I really do feel we've still got a little bit of a way to go. And one of the things that brings me joy in the work that I do, whether it's yoga or whether it is, my coaching or my workshops, is just seeing people step into their own personal power, into their own truth, and taking it up that next level. And one of the things that I've seen a fair bit with women is they tend to stand back. We've been conditioned that way. That's the society we've grown up in. It doesn't mean we are that way. And I love working with that. So, and that's what I loved about the yoga, because the yoga is almost a vehicle for you to, to find yourself again and up into that confidence. And so I love at the moment that we are seeing a lot more women step up. We are seeing a lot more women believe that they should honour themselves. They should make time for things that are going to honour and, support them. So, yeah, I do a lot of work in that space, and which is why I'm really excited to come to your retreat, because I know you're doing the same thing with, women as well, and mums, and we're all really helping each other. And I think it's a great thing that we're doing, Narelle.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm so grateful that you said yes to come along and share. And it's a great place for us to share a little bit of, different approaches to yoga. Because I'm sure people, stand back going, oh no, yoga's not for me. Whereas if they just get a little taste of it, they've got a selection to choose from, and they can go home maybe with a tool that they can choose and go and practice down the track to help them with dealing with, life and overwhelm and things like that, anxiety. So, I'm really grateful that you've said yes and coming along. And, it'll be wonderful. I can't wait to, for me personally, I only recommend what I've found useful myself. So it's been great. And, look forward to doing some more with you as well. So thank you so much for sharing, Kylie, all your stories, and a few stories that,
You said it.
yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's really lovely. Thanks so much, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No, thank you.